Hi folks, I'm in the process of creating a playlist which contains videos dealing with solving elementary structure analysis problems within the 3D experience. And the release that I'm using for 3D experience is 2024x. Now I noticed that in the first video that I tried to create, I noticed that there is some issues with the beam profile which are not alluded to in the documentation of the 3D experience. So this first tutorial is actually referring to that particular issue dealing with beam profile. Now, uh, I have several slides here, and I prefer if I went through it after I try to do this problem for you initially on uh, the platform. Okay, I'm going to be solving a very simple problem, namely a beam that's cantilevered and is point loaded at the other end, and it has different type of cross sections. So let's go ahead and try to do that for now. All right. Here is the platform, the interface of the 3D experience, and I want to remind you that the, uh, the program that I'm using to create my model is CATIA. However, buried inside of 3D experience is the finite element analysis, which is the old Abacus program. Just keep that in mind because I will be making some references to the old program buried inside of CATIA, which was actually the Elfini finite element program. Okay, that is not the case here. Okay, so let's make actually a line which is let's say uh, 10 inches long. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll make it 20 inches. Okay, so let me go to essentials. I'm going to create a line which is 20 inches long line, and the method is point and direction. And the point, I don't have one, I'm going to create one, coordinate 0, 0, 0, and then in the direction y, and I'm going to make that thing 20 inches long. So this I'm going to make 0, of course. Yeah, so it should be 20 inches long, 20 inches long. All right, good. So let's fit this thing right here. This is my line that's going to be meshed with beam elements. Now, I also need an orientation point, so let me go ahead and create a point. I'm going to create, just for visual purposes, I'm going to create it so that it's maybe 5 inches away from where it is right now. This orientation point, remember, cannot be on the beam itself, okay, on the line itself. All right, let's apply some material to this thing. I'm going to say tools. Let's create a material. So let's say create a material, make it a steel. Standard properties. So uh, actually, let me give it a name. Let me try it again. Create a material. I'll call this thing steel. Today is September 5, 2024. Okay, now say okay. So it's right there, and I'm going to say apply. I haven't input the values yet, apply, but I'm going to apply it to this part that I'm making. Green check mark, and now it's created here, but I have to go and fill in the data. Okay, so let me go here and double click on it, and it's a structural problem. It's a abacus multiphysics. It's an elastic problem, and I'm going to put properties of Young's modulus for the steel, which is let's say 29,000 KSI, 29,000 or 29,000 KSI. Yeah, Okay, so I am Poisson ratio 0.3, although I'm not going to be using Poisson ratio, but anyway, so there it is. I don't need the density because it's a static problem and there's no weight effect. Okay, so now that this is done, I can go and create my cross section. Let's say the cross section is, I'm going to create several cross sections. One of them is going to be a square. The other one is going to be, for example, a tube. How about that? So let me go, the different ways of doing this thing, you can go to the measure, which is a structural model creation. That's one way of doing it. Or you can go all the way to the top, right click, insert, and you can say insert a finite element model. That's your choice. So what I'm going to do is go to the normal channel that I do usually, structure analysis, say yes. Okay, it's an empty FEM. All right, we'll wait this thing for pop up. So notice that we are in the meshing tool, or the structure model creation meshing tool. So I can mesh this thing. Okay, so I'll create the elements, so beam elements, without any properties, of course, without any section properties. So I can select this. Why don't I make this thing mesh size? Remember, this whole thing was 20, so I'll make it, how about making it 5, maybe 10, yeah, 10 inches long. Well, actually, let me make it 2 inches long. So there will be 10 elements through the thickness, through the length. So mesh, there we are. If you counted there will be 10, okay, 10 inches. 10 elements is 20 inches. Now, incidentally, if you want to see the elements, we can do a mesh visualization, visibility manager, and you can say, don't show me the line, show me the beam right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 10 of them. But that's okay. Let me see my line. All right. Now we're going to create two profiles, and that is done in the properties. And notice that we have to create two. We can create several properties and use them later on. Beam properties. The first one is going to be circular, and I'm going to make this thing. How about making it actually a tube? Okay, I'll make it a pipe. Okay, so the radius. Why don't I make that thing to be 0.5? And the thickness, I'll make it to be maybe 0.25. Okay, so that's the first profile. I'm going to call this thing profile 1. I'll call it pipe. How about making it profile 1 pipe? Okay, pipe. So okay, notice that this is created here, but I will do another one. So here is going to be another one, and I'm going to call it the um, um, rectangle, or I'm going to call it the box. How about that? Box. What choices do we have here? Actually, let me see now. Rectangle. How about making it rectangle? Rectangle, make my job easier. Rectangle. Rectangle. All right. And so the dimensions, I'm going to make it maybe 0.5 by, I don't know, maybe 1, just so that you can see the difference. All right, so I've created two profiles here. Let me, by the way, update these. Okay, very good. And now back to properties, I'm going to create the beam cross section. Let's do the first. Let's do the uh, uh, the uh, the uh, the pipe. Okay. All right. Good. I don't know why I call it pipe 2. Is it pipe? All right. So first of all, for the support is this line. Okay. And the beam profile, I'm going to use a pipe. Okay. And notice that what happened here, first of all, you can see it like this. And one more thing that I'm going to do is uh, for the orientation point, I'm going to select this point. Now, it doesn't matter in this case. It doesn't change anything. because it was aligned to the geometry, but that's okay. I like to use this orientation point. This is inherited for me from the old CATIA program. But anyway, that's fine. Now, incidentally, if you want to see the cross section, what you can do is you can go to display. Under display preferences over here, instead of sketch, you can say solid, and you can see it right there. And if you don't want to see it at all, just let it go, or basically say none. Okay, it's there, but let me make it. How about making it? That's fine. Make it none. All right. So you know how to look at it if you want. Good. Now, what I'm going to do is then I'm going to uh, I'm not going to run it. I'm not going to even bother running it with the 3D experience. It can be done quite easily, but I'm not going to bother doing that. I want to show you what are the issues with these profiles. Now, if I change my mind and I say, you know what, I don't want actually this thing to be a rectangle, pipe, I want it to be rectangle, I double click on that and change this thing to a rectangle and then say, okay. And notice that, let's display it. It's easier if you displayed it. How about rectangle, solid? There we are, okay? So you can see that, this is a rectangle. So all I have to do is to actually go to the properties and choose a different profile, and then do the rest of the problem. Clamp, apply a load, etc., etc. But what I want to do is now I want to create a cross section that the shape is not specified, but the properties are specified. What do I mean by that? So let's go here. Notice that there was a beam, there was a pipe. Actually, let me change this thing to pipe. Call it, I don't like pipe 2. Pipe there. Okay, so it looks nice. Pipe and rectangle. Now, if I do another one, go to properties and create another profile. This is where the issue with this uh, implementation is, and I'm making a video for it. So if it says general, see that general right there, general. You click on it, okay, and what that means is that just give me the cross-sectional properties. So for example, let me make this thing 1. IYY, I11, 1, each to the 4. I12, 0, and I22 also 1. That means the second moment of area about the axis 1, which happens to be this red one, is you're telling it is 1, and product of inertia is 0, and of course the I22 will be 1. Notice that I can say okay, okay, but look what happened. There is an exclamation mark here. In fact, if you try to update, it's going to come back with a warning message. So the question is, what is this issue? What is happening here? Let me let me show you a different thing to do. You can go to Feature Manager here. See that? Feature Manager. Notice that Profile 3, which is the general one, is red. These two are okay. This one is red. So let me make this thing bigger so you can see it. If I double click on that, let me go and do the following. Let me go and put a 1 here. And also make this thing a 1. And also make this thing a 1. So I just put some random numbers here. And I say, okay, and close that. That's still, even if I update, I still get the same warning message. You can see that. If you double click on this, it'll take you to that, back to that. So let me now go and make this I12 0. I120. And I say, okay, gone. And you can update. No problem. I'll come to this issue when I show you the rest of the slides. Now, let me go back here and put another, this thing back to 1. This is the product of inertia back to 1. And I say, okay, this becomes exclamation. And when I update, I get a warning message. But let me go to the feature manager and double click. Notice that when I put a cursor here, you get a message saying that I11 times I22 minus I12 squared is not positive. So notice that 1 times 1 minus, if I put a 1, see, if I put a 1 for the cross product of inertia, it becomes 1 times 1 minus 1 squared, which is 0, is not bigger than 0. So this is why if I go there and I change this thing to, for example, make it instead of 1, 2, I make it even 1, 0. I made it 0, 0. Okay, and I say okay. Notice that the red color is gone, and in fact this is gone. Update. Okay, try it again. Double click here. Let's make this thing, for example, I don't know, you want to make this thing 4, and you want to make that thing 2, and you want to make this thing 2. That should be okay, because 4 times 2 is 8, is bigger than 2 squared. You see that? You can update. So the question is, what's going on? But that is not the main issue. Another issue is that let me choose for the beam profile, this general one. Pipe, right now, is the pipe. If I double click on the beam section and I change this thing, try to change it to beam profile 3, the general, it's not even in the list. It's not even in the list. The profile is in the tree, but it's not in the list. So it looks like either they haven't got to it, or they completely forgot. So you can use those shapes and you can see it on the screen and you can run FEA analysis, but not with the general case where I have to put in the numbers. By the way, I said that I'm not going to do the analysis. I mean, just to show you that there's nothing sacred here. So just go, for example, now that we did the mesh and the properties, it's a tube. I can go to structural scenario creation. I didn't do it because it's not a big deal, and that is not really the focus of this presentation. I wanted to show you that there is an issue with putting random numbers in that general table, and then you can't even get to them. Okay, so let's do a very simple static step, linear. So I'm not going to uncheck that. Okay, for example, we're going to clamp this end, move this thing here. If this is bothering you, remember how you can fix it. Display, and you say, don't show me the shape, just show me nothing. So that there it is. And you could have done it without doing this step, but anyway, so under the procedure we already did the boundary condition, for example, you can clamp that end, clamp this end, there, it's clamped, okay? And you can put a force here, for example. As I said, that is not the main issue behind this. The reason that I did this tutorial was to show you there is a problem in implementation. So, for example, minus 1,000, whatever the unit are, and then you can run it. That's not the focus of the presentation. It's going to run, it's going to bend, but not with that general profile. And I'll go through the slides in a minute as soon as I'm convinced you that that is not the issue. Remember, this is the first tutorial that's going to go into that playlist, which is intended for elementary problems, structure analysis problem done within the 3D experience. Already we know that you have to use the shape. Otherwise, at least at this point in the release 2024, that is not picking it up. Even if you put the proper uh, values so that the table gets reflected in the tree, you can pick them. That does not happen, by the way, in the Abacus program, because this is the Abacus program buried as the FEA solver. Okay, good. No big deal. There we are. This is a deflection. Okay, now I can go through the slides. All right. So issue with the beam profile when trying to perform perform FEA in 3D experience. Definitely there's a problem. Let me remind you how we define the properties. We go and define beam profile, and when you select that, you get different options. It's the general one that's causing a problem. The other one, I did two of them, there was no issue. And in the general one, if you try to put random numbers here, it's not going to work. First of all, there is that restriction, which is this guy times that guy minus the square of this fellow, minus the square of this fellow must be positive. And I've noticed that even if that condition is met, but you don't put these numbers here, you still get the exclamation mark. You won't be able to update it. You get a warning. Help is not very useful because when you try to find out what is going on, you click on the beam profile, it goes there, and then when you click on beam, also beam profile, it puts you back to that window. So there is definitely an issue. Uh, this is going to be problematic for sure because this times that minus this squared is not positive. Okay. And notice that here's the beam profile. It says it doesn't work, so you go back and you say, okay, can I put change these things? I put some numbers here, but I'm pretty sure if you miss these numbers, it's going to come back with the same issue. Okay, but anyway, I made it so that 1 times 1 minus 0.9 squared is positive. Uh, 1 times 1, yeah, this must be positive. I want to try that, by the way, because I'm going to check these numbers. 4, 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. This is for us, this must be positive, and with these numbers, actually it is. So let me go and check 1.9. We go back to that in a minute. So we go here. So let me go back to that behavior over there. Okay, so I put a 1 here. Put a 4.9 and 1. And this last one was 1 anyway. Oh, I put a 5 there. That's really, these are not the issue. 5. But this should actually work because 1 times 1 minus 0.9 squared is positive, and I put these numbers in there. Yeah, you can see that that works. Fine. However, if I go and take these out, it's going to cause a problem. It's going to say I can't update right there. Yeah. So actually, this slide is not quite correct. This will work, but if I took these two, these area out and J out, although this is true, it's going to come back and say I can't do it. Okay. Now let's go back to our slides. All right. So with these numbers, you're not going to get an error message. But if you took the 4 out and the 5 out, you will get the error message. And if this condition is not met, you will get an error message. Error message means warning, and it won't, exclamation mark will not go away. This is a consequence of the fact that the inertial matrix is a positive definite matrix. And it's something that you don't see it in basic dynamics books. Okay, you have to dig for it. You will see that actually that inertial matrix is positive definite. So even when that condition is met, it won't load up. That's the problem. Also, I mean, you can make that exclamation mark warning go away, but you cannot load that profile for section properties. And I also already showed you how to display these things, no problem. Okay. Now, I have done the same type of problem in this three short videos that are created, but it went into the plays that you see here. Okay. And for CATIA, of course. Now remember, the solver in CATIA is not the same as the solver in the 3D experience. Okay. Uh, you may, if you're a CATIA fan, you may find these things useful. And I want to show you, remind you, if you're a CATIA fan, what the things are in CATIA, in solver for CATIA. Notice that we have these options. We also have, instead of calling it general, it says user defined. Okay. And when you do that, you have basically have to put same kind of information, not all of them, but yeah. So this must be the J. This must be the J that is in the 3D experience thingy. It is exactly the same. Yeah, actually, it's pretty much exactly the same. There's one minor difference. I'm pretty sure these are exactly the same. Okay, and yeah. So that orientation point in CATIA, if you don't select it, this may be a little bit tilted. Okay, but if you maybe tilt it, but if you select the orientation point, it just aligns it, and then you can put the right stuff in there. All right, folks, so good luck. The only thing is that I made a boo-boo here. This should have been 0, 0, or if I didn't specify these two, this condition is met, and therefore you're not going to get that error message. To convince you, I went and changed this thing to 0, and I showed you that this thing works. And even, but when I remove this, make this thing 0 and 0, it's going to come back and say, the condition is met, but I'm not going to update it for you because you didn't give me the whole story.